Welcome back, folks, to Investor Diaries. This is the Home Ownership Series video 7. Till now, we've spoken about mortgages, the various kind of mortgages, and walked through specific numbers with examples as such. Today, Nitish is going to walk us through a very specific and powerful tool that we all have if we have a home equity line of credit. So, without further ado, Nitish, walk us through it. What is it all about?
Yeah, so we will try to take the same example that we had gone back on video 4, where we went through a line by line example of or an illustration of a mortgage when you buy a house of 500k. So let's go back to that example, and now we will look at what are some of the ways that we can hedge our bets. So after we posted that video, we got some feedback, we got some comments on fixed and variable rate of interest. People asked which is the best tool to go for, or is there a way where you can use both fixed interest and variable rate of interest in their mortgage. So we went back to our drawing board, we did some extensive research, and we've checked with a lot of our financial institutions, and we wanted to come back and say that yes, there is a way that you can use both these options in the same mortgage. How do you go about it? Now the first step is you need to get a home equity line of credit on your mortgage. You had purchased a house of 500k, you had put down a down payment of 10%, which is 50k. You're part of the CMHC mortgage insurance, and that gets added to your mortgage amount, and your mortgage amount is 463,950. This, assuming you've gone for a 5-year interest, 5-year fixed rate of interest of 2%, your monthly mortgage comes to 91965. Now this is your first leg of the mortgage, where you have taken a fixed rate of interest for 5 years and amortized over 25 years. Now this 1965 that you pay monthly typically has 50% allocation to your principal and 50% allocation to your interest. That's how you pay down your interest and principal in the beginning few years of the mortgage. So as you start paying down the mortgage, the principal, you start building equity in the home, and your principal amount starts going up. Now let's say it's 11 months into the mortgage, you have started paying down approximately $10,807 into your principal portion, and the similar 10,000 into your interest portion. Now if you are in a HELOC, you are eligible to borrow up to 10,807, because that's the principal that you pay down on the mortgage, that's the equity that you've built into the mortgage. So you are eligible to borrow that 10k, and you will be charged the revolving line of interest, which is prime plus, for this example, let's say prime plus 0.5, and whenever you pay back that amount that you borrowed, you close the mortgage. But let's say you borrow that money, you can actually book it to your second line of mortgage, right? Now, what we recommend is, if you've had the first leg of your mortgage as a fixed rate of mortgage, you can do the second leg as a variable rate of mortgage. So you borrow the 10k, you check with the bank says, yeah, there is a 4-year variable variable rate of interest available, that can be amortized over 25 years with an interest rate of 1%. Now 1% is typically like prime minus 0.5 or prime minus 1, whatever. It is a variable rate of interest. So as the prime or the benchmark rate goes up, your interest rate's going up.
Yeah, so Nitish, there's a question on that. Why is this rate so low? So you're speaking of a 2% interest here as far as, say, your mortgage is concerned. Then we are saying our HELOC rate is probably very close to prime, maybe a little more than prime. Then this variable interest rate you're talking about, it seems it's too low. Why is that the case?
Yes, so the reason it is lower is because the financial institutions are getting a fixed sum of money over a certain period of time. Now when you book this 10k, which is outstanding, with the revolving line of credit, the financial institution doesn't know whether you're going to pay it in 1 month, whether you're going to pay it in 6 months, or whether you're going to pay it in a year. But when you book it against your mortgage, they are ready to offer a lower rate of interest. That way, you stand to gain from a lower interest rate, and they stand to gain by knowing that there is a recurring payment coming in every month from you on your behalf against the mortgage. So I think it's a good win-win scenario for both the client and the financial institution.
So technically, it is up to us to do whatever we want to do with the money, but you are recommending that we put the money towards our mortgage payments and thereby seek advantage of the low interest rate.
Yes, so yeah, that's a great point, Abby. You can do whatever you want with the money. So the 10K that you borrowed, you can invest it. You can pay against your credit card debt consolidation that we talked about, different use case of the mortgage that we or HELOC that we talked about in our previous video. Or if you have no use of the money, you can pay it against your first leg of the mortgage. You pay down your mortgage amount, and you're paying up against your principal. So if you pay that lump sum 10K payment, your principal goes up to 20K, right? So you're building more equity, and now you book the second leg of the mortgage at a 4-year variable rate of interest on 1%. Now, what does this 1% really amount to? So, if you do the math, if you calculate it, it amounts to $38 against 10K for 4 years on a 1% rate of interest. So, your net monthly mortgage now becomes 1965 plus $38. So, that's $2,003.
So this way, you're eventually paying a little more than what you were paying earlier, but it's also taking advantage of the lower interest rate that I have. So in the long term, I tend to save more.
That's right. So this is a scenario where your net monthly expense or mortgage expense is not going to go down. It is going to be slightly higher. Now, in this scenario, for against 10K, it's $38. Now, $38 is a pretty small sum of amount for someone who's bought a 500K house, right? So it's generally more affordable. Now, if you have higher liquidity, you can look at options where you borrow more from your line of credit, right? Against this hedge, it could be 20K, 50K, it would go up. But essentially, your monthly expense towards the mortgage is going to go up. But this will help you accelerate your payments towards the mortgage or build equity towards the mortgage. The second leg of 10K that we talked about is taken out from the end of the mortgage. So your mortgage amortization or the mortgage payment period would now go to probably about 24 years. It was due to be paid in 25 years. Now you'll be paying it out in roughly about 24 years. So the last segment, you have taken it now and you're now spreading it over again 25 years at a lower rate of interest.
So one of the other questions I have, Nitish, is when you go to the bank to negotiate on this second leg, if we were to call it, are there any suggestions on what should we choose as the term for the second leg? Like one of the thoughts that I have in terms of maintaining flexibility is choose the period so that your bank's mortgage gets over during that time. So for instance, if you've gone for a 5-year fixed and after a year you've gone to the bank, then choose a 4-year rate so that you are left with no complications, and at the end of 5 years you are free to move to any other bank if you were to refinance your mortgage.
Yeah, so that's a great point, Appy. So what we recommend is trying to keep the end date of both the legs roughly about the same time. So typically when your mortgage comes up for renewal, you have about 3 months grace period to find another lender or to find or if you want to move your mortgage, right? So that's why if you look at this example, the first leg was 5-year fixed, and after about 11 months, you're coming and taking a 4-year variable, so that the first leg and the second leg comes to renewal right about the same time, and you have more options or you have more flexibility when you want to change your mortgage lenders.
Well, this was really helpful, Nitish. Any parting thoughts on this?
Yeah, so again, this is one scenario where you can use the benefits of both fixed rate of interest and variable rate of interest as kind of like a hedge working towards your benefit. Now, you could also do the other scenario if, like we said in the video 4, if you have a higher risk appetite and if you think that the interest rates are high now and it's going to go lower, your first leg could be variable and the second leg could be fixed. So it could be done both ways. But in this current environment where you have lower interest rates, we would recommend booking the larger component, the first leg to be a fixed because you're already booking into a lower interest rate, and then the second leg being variable, where you don't mind if the variable interest rate goes up a little high as well.
Yeah, so before we wrap it up, I would like to say that this is for probably more advanced users, people with a more deep understanding of the mortgage. So feel free to check out our videos. I'm going to link a few of them in the description below. And as always, if you have thoughts, feedback, comments, suggestions, feel free to also speak about that in the comment section below. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next one.
Yeah, thanks everyone. See you soon.